Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Maicy Lee, and I'm the Social Emotional Learning Director for Sac City. Today, I'm here to talk about the why, the what, and the how of social emotional learning. This will be part one of a two-part series, and we hope that you will learn some practical tips and strategies to support your navigation of SEL during these challenging times. So we know that teaching and learning is both social and emotional. Right now, I would also add that parenting is also social and emotional. Right now, parents are co-teachers in distance learning while also balancing work, family, and your own mental well-being. None of this is easy, and we acknowledge that these are stressful, anxious times for everyone, especially for you parents and caretakers. We hope this video will provide some useful information and practical tips that will support you as you navigate the dual role of co-teaching and parenting during this unusual time in our history. So to get us grounded in our learning journey today, we will engage in a 1-minute welcoming inclusion mindfulness activity. This quick breathing exercise will help to calm our nervous system so that we can focus and engage in the learning ahead. I invite you to take the next minute and follow along with this mindful breathing exercise. All right, I hope that was useful, and feel free to replay this if it's helpful for you. Just like I almost did there. Sorry about that. So SEL is grounded in our core value and guiding principle. With SEL, we deepen our awareness and skills to recognize that our system is inequitable by design and to work vigilantly to confront and interrupt inequities that exist to level the playing field. SEL supports us to actualize our guiding principle of equity, access, and social justice so that all students are given an equal opportunity to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. What our current context has reaffirmed and amplified is the great inequities that continue to exist in our system. The COVID-19 pandemic and the pandemic of racism have elevated the inequities to new heights. The disproportionate health impact on communities of color, the economic impact on our families, as well as the racial reckoning in our nation are reminders that we still have a lot of work to do. Our resilience as individuals and as a community has been tested now more than ever. As we think about a return to learning, a return to community, we will need to consider how we will show up for each other, for our children, for a shared common humanity, with an intentional focus and practice of social emotional learning. So, what do we mean when we say SEL or social emotional learning in Sac City? What we say is that social emotional learning starts with adults, teachers, and parents who cultivate the conditions to create connected relationships, build strong community, and who validate and affirm the unique cultures and lived experiences of all, so that students feel a sense of belonging in every learning space. SEL skill building requires explicit teaching of competencies such as self awareness, self management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision making, and growth mindset in order for students to access high quality academic tasks and content. These SEL skills and conditions are foundational to a positive culture and climate. Another way to look at how SEL looks across positive culture climate is this visual. Again, social emotional learning starts with adults and the way that we show up to support our students. It includes the kinds of relationships and community building that we are intentional about every day, building in routines and daily rituals that create belonging for all of our students. It also involves the skill building, as I mentioned earlier, and academic integration opportunities so that our students both are learning the important critical skills to communicate, to show empathy, to collaborate, to problem solve, as well as how this is applied in an academic setting. And lastly, or I should say ultimately, the goal in an SEL classroom is to support, to nurture, and to empower students to be independent learners who see themselves in the work that they do and have the agency to apply the skills they have learned both in school and in life. So, what might an SEL classroom look like? So, in an SEL classroom, a welcoming inclusion activity can be used to bring students into a classroom community. Students might do a quick check in at the beginning of class on how they're feeling, or simply share an emoji that reflects their current mood. This quick check in helps to lower the negative affect of any strong emotion and connect the students to each other in the shared learning space. Another way an SEL classroom might look is through engaging strategies that help to connect students to each other and allows them to apply SEL into the learning context. So engaging strategies such as a think, pair, share protocol, the use of mindful brain breaks, or even opportunities to collaborate in a group process or project again helps students to connect and to practice those essential SEL skills of reflection, communication, collaboration, self-regulation, and problem solving. Another way SEL might show up in a classroom is through an activity called an optimistic closure at the end of each class. This allows for additional reflections on what was learned, key takeaways of the day, and next steps to try. A regular practice of optimistic closure also nurtures a sense of accomplishment and excitement for what's to come. So, what can parents do to support SEL during distance learning? The first thing and most essential thing would be for parents to continue to stay connected to your school and your child's classroom. In addition to monitoring what learning looks like, you can also ask specific questions about SEL. For example, you might ask, what does SEL look like, feel like, sound like in your classroom? Or what does community building look like in Zoom? These specific questions will help give you some insight into how your child experiences daily climate, culture, relationship building, and positive interactions in their classroom. Additionally, stay connected to your child. Daily check ins, asking your child, "How are you feeling today?" is a good way to gauge their emotions and be attuned to any stressors and anxieties that might be coming up for them. Also, listening with empathy and without judgment is an opportunity to better understand their thinking and also a good opportunity to talk about daily challenges and struggles as they come up. Lastly, finding points of connections with your child. This might look like a quick walk together or even texting to communicate with your child, as texting tends to be an easier modality for talking to some teens. This helps to strengthen the line of communication and keeps you connected to your child. An important part of what you can do for yourself right now is to practice self compassion. These are difficult times. You can't take care of others if you too are dysregulated and stressed out. Give yourself permission for self care. Practice mindful breathing, moving, and resting. And make time to celebrate the good things that are going well. Yes, it's hard. So look for those little things that are going well in your life, even if it's a small thing as everyone got logged on to their Zoom classes on time. That is something to be grateful for. Focus on what matters, deepening your family connections and resilience. Take advantage of the time together to connect through such things as storytelling, using family pictures to share stories about extended family members, gardening, having each family member decide on a favorite vegetable and grow that garden and tend to it together. Cook as a family, plan a menu, collect ingredients, and spend time putting a meal together. Creating memories as a family is a great antidote to stress and anxiety right now. And before we go, we want to share a quick SEL tip for parents. While the stay home order has allowed for more time with family, we also know that this crisis has caused a lot of stress and anxiety for some. And while a little stress is okay, ongoing prolonged stress can be harmful, especially in the way we interact with our loved ones. To support healthy relationships in anxious times, we encourage the practice of pausing in order to effectively respond. What this looks like is this: when you find yourself overly anxious, frustrated, or your body tensing with strong emotions, take a moment to pause, be deliberate. This might be taking a quick walk, taking 5 big cleansing deep breaths, or literally saying, "This is not the right time for us to talk. Let's take a few minutes to ourselves and return together," before you respond. We want to also share that we have a website that has additional SEL resources for parents. At our Social Emotional Learning and Beyond webpage, there are family resources with links to a variety of self-care practices, as well as practices to support your children. We hope you will visit the page, which can easily be found at our district SEL webpage, www.scusd.edu/SEL. And finally, I want to leave you with this optimistic closure as we end this presentation. It's not our job to toughen our children up to face a cruel and heartless world. It's our job to raise children who will make the world a little less cruel and heartless. In part 2 of the series, you will be learning about SEL as a path toward equity and anti-racism. SEL skills and conditions are necessary in order to engage in meaningful and constructive conversations about equity and systemic racism. We hope you will join this conversation again in part 2 of the series and understand the importance of store up in order to restore to. And finally, we want to thank you for taking the time to view this video. We appreciate you for all that you do. Please take care and be well.